Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming here today. Lots of rumors about the WWE Hall of Fame for the class of Wrestlemania 34. I think as of right now, everyone has sort of figured that Goldberg is going to be that main guy. From here, WWE will sort of have to fill out the cast of characters that will be the rest of the class. You know, if you look at the past class, you normally always get your main eventer, you get a tag team, you get a women's wrestler. Sometimes you get like a foreign wrestler, and then you get some sort of like celebrity to go along with it. What I think is going to be going down, especially with a Raw 25 appearance that's going to be coming soon, will be the Dudleys will be announced to go into the Hall of Fame. The Dudleys, we talked about them a little bit in detail last year when the Straight Outta Dudleyville DVD came out, highlighting their time in wrestling for ECW as well as wrestling for WWE, and their time in TNA before making their return to the company. I believe in 2016 for that short little run. A lot like, when I talked about it in the Goldberg video that came out yesterday, it was nice to see the Dudleys come back to the company and have that 1 year run, even though they wrestled in a match at WrestleMania 32 on the pre-show against the Usos. I believe it wasn't even the tag titles match. I can't even tell you who the tag champions were at the time. And it just was on the pre-show, and I was sitting outside of the arena and couldn't get in. I didn't even get to see it. I've never seen it, and I probably never will see it. But, for them to come back the night after SummerSlam and get that, that sort of ovation and have those matches against the New Day, it was nice to have that, sort of remembrance tour for the Dudleys. And I'm sure they wrestled in a lot of house shows and got to see a lot of fans that hadn't seen them in a long time with their time. But I think that the Dudleys are going to be going into the Hall of Fame. In my opinion, they're one of my favorite tag teams of all time. Anytime you talk about somebody's top five and it comes to being a wrestling fan for as long as I've been, being number 3 on the list is just as well as number 1. But, I've always sort of put it out there that I've always gone Demolition 1, the Legion of Doom 2, and the Dudley Boyz 3. And then you can go back and find the video. I think I had Orient Express either number 4 or number 5. And that's not no joke. Those guys were awesome. Watch that match with the Rockers back in the day and you'll love it. But the Dudleys honestly did everything. There's that picture of them with their arms out that was taken in TNA, holding basically all the championships that they had ever won. They sort of used that cheaters technique that was around in the 2001 days, where WCW was closed, but WWE was using their belts, and that's how they became the WCW champions. But as well as, being in TNA and TNA using the New Japan titles, they won just about every main title and every major promotion that was in, the world, for them to brag about. And that sort of puts them way up here when it comes to it. Devon and Bubba as a team, even though in ECW they fought against each other, they fought with each other. Anytime that they were in the ring, that they were going to have a war, and they were going to be bringing it to the table. From looking at the Dudley Boyz Straight Outta Dudleyville DVD, they knew that it was time for them to leave ECW, even though a lot of guys that were in ECW at the time, because of their helping the promotion grow and drinking the Kool-Aid of Paul Heyman and wanting to believe that it was going to become the number 1 company. They just sort of knew that it was time. And I know they fight back and forth about who called who, because Bubba didn't want to be the guy that called the other guys. He wanted them to call them, just so you can sort of have bragging rights over who wanted who. They went in, and because of the fact that, I believe the Public Enemy had been there a few months before, and they literally bombed out and did not work. They wanted to get along with everybody, and they didn't want to basically get ran out of the company as fast as the Public Enemy did. But then again, the Public Enemy, if you don't know the story, basically tried to get a finish changed against the Acolytes at the gorilla position before they walked out, and basically said that their spot was, putting guys through tables. And even though the plan was for the Acolytes to put the Public Enemy through tables, they weren't going to play. And look that video up online, because on live TV, the Acolytes beat the living hell out of Public Enemy. But basically, the Dudleys were their main thing very early on in the company was they were going to get jumped by the Acolytes, and the Acolytes took a beating to them. And even though that they limped and they were cut and scratched and beat up, Bubba Ray and Devon, they didn't complain to anybody in the locker room. They didn't complain to anybody in management. They just, put their stuff in their bag. They got in their car. They drove to the next city and came out and was ready to take a beating the next night. That's what sort of got them over with Bradshaw and Farouk. And honestly, at that time, if you were over with Bradshaw and Farouk in the locker room, you were over with just about everybody, and that sort of warmed their hearts that these aren't just ECW prima donnas who think that they're there to run the company. And then from there on, of course, they would be sort of added into the Edge and Christian versus Hardys, where they would have the big ladder match at WrestleMania 17, which would lead to TLC at SummerSlam, and that would lead to TLC 2 at WrestleMania 7. Shoot. I thought the tables match was in Houston. Maybe the first one was at 16, and that led to TLC 2 at the one in Houston. Maybe that's what it was. But I always think of the tables match as being a TLC match with everything they did there. But my buddy Miguel, freaking 88, is always quick to remind me that I'm wrong about that. But I'm looking forward to the Dudleys going into the Hall of Fame. You go into the archives here on the channel, you can watch the review of the Straight Outta Dudley Boyz DVD that came out last year. Really cool looking one. If you bought the DVD, it actually has a fold-out table that I guess you can set up and then put your wrestling figures through or something like that. But I ended up picking up the Blu-ray. Mine's not as cool as that one, but still pretty cool. So we'll see what goes down with that, but hopefully they'll be announced either at Raw 25 or soon after. Them making that, come into the company. They can do things with just about anybody. I don't think there's anybody in the company as a tag team that's on the Monday Night Raw brand that's fresh to the point they haven't worked with them. So it'd be cool to see them go after the Usos. It'd be cool to see them go after the New Day. Well, I guess those are both SmackDown teams, so shoot. I guess the Monday Night Raw team, the belts are being held by either Sheamus, Cesaro. You've got Rollins and Jordan. Who else is out there on the Raw brand? I guess they're really hurting for teams. So we'll see what goes down. Raw 25 as well as the WWE's Hall of Fame for WrestleMania 34.